Good morning, ladies, and welcome to today's panel discussion. My name is Batrisya Balqis. I am the chairman for today, and it is a great pleasure both to participate in the panel with our guests and to welcome you to this event. We invite you today to inform people more about the concept of atheism and to discuss more in relations to the Islamic worldview. Therefore, for a brief introduction, atheism is not a disbelief in God, but it is a lack of belief in God. And most of the factors of people choosing atheism is that that there is no enough evidence to prove the existence of God, and hence this atheists come to the front. Now, this question is for our first panel, Miss Alia. Thank you for coming today. If it's okay for you, Miss Alia, could you please elaborate on the characteristics of the atheism itself?
Okay, thank you to our moderator. Good morning, everyone. So in general, all atheists have the same common characteristic, which they do not believe in the existence of God. Finding out these types of atheism can be rather challenging, and the common ones are raised according to the degree of reflection that a person must have regarding the existence of God. So to be considered an atheist, that is depending on the degree of rejection that exists regarding the idea of a God. So we refer to these four types of atheism. First is the implicit atheism, which is the one who lacks religious training or have never been exposed to any of religious matter or theistic ideas. So he or she does not believe in God without an explicit rejection. So the next one is the explicit atheism. In general, it refers to those who have the knowledge of religions or theistic ideas, and they make their atheism explicit. These atheists can in turn be divided into strong and weak explicit atheists. So weak explicit atheists are those who do not believe in the existence of a God, despite having the knowledge of religions, but they do not flatly deny the possibility that a God may exist. While the strong ones are those who fully subscribe to the claim that no God exists in any way. So in atheism, there is this philosophical foundation that can be explained in two aspects. First is the practical atheism, is when one is living his or her life without paying attention to the existence of gods and widely assuming the absence of God. We can actually see that for these practical atheists, the existence or non-existence of God has no true pragmatic effects. Next is the theoretical atheism, one that explicitly offers arguments and approach with the aim of proving that God does not exist. They are making use of their ontological, epistemological, logical, and metaphysical arguments. That's all for me.
So we all knew that the classification of the atheism itself depend on the degree of rejections that exists regarding to the idea of the God itself. So for our second panel, Miss Nadia, in your opinion, what is actually the impact of their belief on people in this modern era?
Well, this is a very interesting question. Thanks to our moderator, and I'm sure you've heard that their belief actually cause many impacts on people in this modern era. Sometimes in human behavior, nation ethics, and social system. But if you ask me about the actual impact, well, I think I want to just linger very briefly on the greatest impact, which is morals absence and crime propensity. Why is this considered as greatest one? Because our contemporary universe is a world of crime and fear. For example, today our media, newspapers, books, and other news inform us of the crimes that have the violence and pleasure of torturing others and drinking their blood, as well as enjoy watching their crying. And not only that, incidents of robbery, rape, and murder, which is growing day after day. Perhaps the famous incident in 1977 in New York City, where in the morning people discovered that thousands of shops, stores, and homes were looted. And that actually involved different classes and age people participating in this robbery, even the guarding policemen themselves. So in fact, that this community will continue eat one another, and in my opinion, no doubt that this is also a result of the atheism, because atheism doesn't educate the men to observe acts and deeds, so their sense of animality grows, and they don't fear of a god or expecting punishment. For them, the only deception that make them fear is the human reality condition, which can be overcome in many ways, especially in today's society where people have developed skills in committing crimes and avoiding the law. So even though some of atheist souls may still have instinct appeal and consign punishment, but today it is fading in the midst of life, in the midst of difficult life and so many temptations.
Thanks, Mr. Nadia, for sharing that info with us today. Moving on to our third panel, Ms. Zainab. With the view of the impact happening towards people, could you share with us some strength of atheism in relation to the Islamic worldview?
I think the communication between atheism and the Islamic worldview in the belief that atheism held that there is no God and all the miracle subsided with God. What the belief is them, but only if them believe it. Islam is the prescribed faith. We have to believe in the existence of Allah and Allah is the creator of all things in the world, from the first person created by Allah, Adam alayhi salam, to all of us now, and even of the Muslim of the us. We have to believe in the existence of Allah and that Allah is our master. So I think the biggest communication between atheism and the Islamic worldview is that them both believe, but the one believe in deism and the other believe in Allah, the creator of the universe. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that info with us. So for our last panel, Ms. Afifah, we knew that atheism is a concept where it lacks belief toward God itself. And as a Muslim itself, after listening to what our previous panel had shared, what is your opinion pertaining to the shortcoming of atheism as a Muslim?
Okay, thank you to the moderator, Batrisya Balqis, for the question. Okay, for atheists, they heavily rely on logic and science for proof, and this itself becomes their own shortcoming, okay? Because firstly, we know that science can have errors at times, and human mind is limited. Okay, it cannot comprehend things that it has not seen or come in contact with, okay? So some of the claims made by atheists, especially those related to God, are incorrect. Some of it are, firstly, they claim that there is no evidence to support God's existence. However, this evidence can be found all around us. For example, the heartbeat, the breath we take, the cosmic harmony in the universe are all evidence of a higher power who operate and control all these things. And we Muslims believe that this high power is Allah. Okay. In addition to that, Allah has mentioned multiple times in the Quran, and one of them is in Surah An-Nahl. Everything in this world, the night, the day, the sun, the moon, and the stars are all under His command. Okay, and indeed these are signs or evidence for people who reason or use their intellect. Okay. Next, atheists also claim or believe that the universe created itself or came into existence on its own. Okay. Came into existence by chance. Sorry. For example, the Big Bang Theory or the Darwin Theory. But if we use logic and common sense, nothing can exist on its own. Every creation needs a creator. For example, the pen that we use has its own creator, has its own manufacturer. So what more, the complex human being and also the vast universe. Without a doubt, they too have their own creators, which is Allah. Allah SWT also has refuted their claims by saying in Surah At-Tur, verse 35, or were they created by nothing, or were they the creators of themselves? So from this, you can conclude that atheism has its own shortcoming, and an ideology with shortcomings surely cannot be regarded as the truth. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that critical point, Ms. Afifah. We now are all clear and understand better the concept of atheism itself. I'm happy to discuss all of this with you all, and I really appreciate all of your comments tonight. And I hope that this discussion help in better understanding the concept of autism itself. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
You're welcome.